All right, welcome back to another edition of Baseball for Maniacs. This is going to be a solo pod. Me and Ryan are going to start doing um, solo pods, but we're going to have the same topic. So we're doing 5 breakout players that we think are going to break out in the 2026 season. So I'm going to do my 5 in the solo pod. Ryan's going to do his. You guys just kind of get the different perspective from my side and from his side. We might have some similarities. I don't know his list. He doesn't know mine. We'll just have to wait and see. But my first one, I'm a homer. I love my Phillies. You guys know this. I'm going with Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott in the second half had an 855 OPS and batted 294. Some might say, well, was it just a hot second half? Was that a hot stress? Is this really who Bryson Stott is? And I would rebuttal with saying, I think this is who Bryson Stott is going forward. Now, 855 OPS, that is to the moon. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that's like his peak. I don't think it's going to be his consistency. But what I think Bryson Stott can be, I think he'd be an 800 OPS guy. I think he can be a high 700s OPS, and then you mix that with his defense, you got an all-star on your hands. So Bryson Stott midway through the year made a swing adjustment. And this is where why I also believe that he will be a breakout player. It's not just me hoping because he's a Phil, me hoping because I like Bryson Stott. I liked him growing up. I had high hopes for him as a prospect. That helps in that, like in my theory of why he's going to be it. But if you look at the date he made the swing adjustment, and then you look at the stats after, the A-B correlation is there. So as much as Kevin Long gets like crapped on by Phillies fans, he is a great hitting coach. It's not Kevin Long's fault that superstars like Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and Bryce Harper have bad postseasons. That's not his fault. And people need to stop overestimating what a hitting coach does for these big league players. Big league players got there for a reason. They're not going to listen to all these hitting coaches tell them to make these adjustments. And hitting coaches aren't going to try to fundamentally change a big leaguer. Because you know what that can do? It could ruin their career. Scott Kingery fundamentally changed his swing after 2019. He went to an uppercut starting in the 2020 season. Where's Scott Kingery now? He signed a minor league deal with the Cubs. He's never been the same. So for us to think Kevin Long or any hitting coach is going to drastically change someone, one, that's malpractice. They shouldn't do that. It's on the player. But they can make slight little adjustments. And he did that with Bryson Stott. It was the slightest of adjustments. He dropped his hands down. Now, some people might be thinking, well, what does that do? So if you look at Bryson Stott in the first half, if you look at a side-by-side video of him in the second half, when he had his hands down, he was very more A-B to the ball. It was a simple swing, a simple motion. And what that did for him is it simplified things. It was more see ball, hit ball, not I got to be on time when I'm doing all this. I'm not a hitting coach, but I understand if you simplify your swing, it makes it easier to pitch track. If you can hit the fastball, if you can react to the off speed, know when it's a ball, you're going to be more successful. And when Bryson Stott made that change, the numbers don't lie. Pair that with his great defense, I think there's a chance Bryson Stott could be an all-star. Now, I only think if he stays at second base, he'll be an all-star, just because the third base position in the National League is stacked. Bo Bichette's coming to Philly. That's completely happening. It just depends if Bo's going to play second, Bryson Stott goes to third. If Bo plays third, Bryson Stott's going to be at second. If he stays at second, I think he has a phenomenal chance to be the starting second baseman in South Philadelphia come All-Star game. And then before I go on my second player, another person he helped save their career, Kyle Schwarber. When Kyle Schwarber went to the Nationals in 2021, when he got designated for assignment, yes, Kyle Schwarber got designated for assignment by the Chicago Cubs. Looking back, that was a huge mistake. But he went to Washington. Kevin Long was a hitting coach there. It was his last year in Washington. And what did he do to Kyle Schwarber's swing? He simplified it. If he can make these little adjustments, he is a great hitting coach. If you look at videos of Kyle Schwarber in his early playing career, he's still matched, right? He had a bad 2020. It was a 60-game sample size, whatever. But he's more A to B to the ball. And there's a video out there, I think it was him on MLB Network like last year in spring training, or maybe it was 2024. And he talks about if you can eliminate movement, what that did for him is it eliminated head movement. If your head is going up and down, it makes it much harder for you to track the pitch. So Kyle Schwarber simplified his stroke. He's more A to B. The head stays the same. He can track whether it's a curveball, whether it's a fastball. Obviously, not all the time, because you're not going to hit 1,000. No one's ever going to do that, but it makes it much easier to pitch track. Big league hitters, swings, yes. If you have a better swing fundamentally, you're going to have a better chance. But the main thing that makes a big league hitter successful is recognizing what pitch is coming. If they know a fastball is coming, if they can react to a curveball in the dirt, they can take more pitches, and then they get more pitches in the zone. But that's enough on the Kevin Long rant. I might do a whole video on why Kevin Long's a great hitting coach, but that's for another day. My second breakout player is Jesus Luzardo. Now, this is going to be my last Philly. If I did 5 Phillies breakout players, I mean, that's just wishful thinking. Now, Jesus Luzardo had a really good 2025 season. Jesus Luzardo's best season before he got to the Phillies was 2023, when he was the Game 1 starter in the wildcard game against yours truly, the Philadelphia Phillies. Jesus Luzardo's main thing is health, right? He's had injury concerns. He's had back problems. So when the Phillies traded for him, that was a concern. But with an arm like that, you make that trade any day of the week. And we gave him Starlin Cava. Now, he struggled mightily in AAA. Or not AAA. I think he was an A ball. He's just going to hit the ball. He's a phenomenal defender. He's a glove first shortstop, but he can't hit. Maybe he, what's the word? He develops into a good hitter. We'll just have to see. I think he's still like 19 years old, so the book's not out on him. But you make that trade for the arm of Jesus Luzardo's talent. And he pitched great. He had 183 innings, and he had a 4.03 ERA. But those numbers can be a little misleading. People might be thinking, Jesus Luzardo eats up innings, has a good arm, but a 4 ERA, that's nothing too great. It's good, but it's not great. If the Phillies fans know this, because we watch them every start, right? I'm assuming you guys watch every Phillies game just like I do. May 31st, a getaway game against the Milwaukee Brewers. That was a tough watch. He gave up 12 earned runs in 3 innings and a third. He got rocked. Some people might say Rob Thompson left him out to dry. Look, man, you can't just deplete your bullpen. If you are having a tough day in the first or second inning, you might have to wear it. And that's what Jesus Luzardo did. One bad start, but 12 earned runs can destroy your ERA. And then the very next start in Toronto, he gave up 8 earned runs. So he gave up 20 earned runs in back-to-back starts in 3 and a third inning total. That destroyed his ERA. And I did some stats looking into, and I took away those 2 bad starts. Now, you can't take away the bad starts. They happen, right? But I think taking 2, I would say outliers, because there was a pitch tipping issue. And if you're tipping pitches and the other team knows what's coming, I don't care how good your stuff is, they're going to rock you. And that's exactly what they did. But I took those 2 starts out. So in 178 innings, he had a 3.03 ERA and 216 strikeouts. That combined is a stud. And I really think he's in a contract year, right? If Jesus Luzardo stays healthy, he has a chance to win the NL Cy Young. I don't think he's going to do it. I'm not making that bold claim, but I really think he can finish top 5. And what is he in? He's in a contract year. He is going to be motivated to just shove the baseball. And game 2 against the Dodgers, he was dominant. But unfortunately, our offense failed him and the city again. That's why we're getting Bo Bichette to fix that problem. That's another episode. So I think Jesus Luzardo is going to have a great year. I really want the Phillies to extend him, because if Jesus Luzardo has the year I think he's going to have, we're not going to be able to afford him, man. When we sign Bo Bichette, we're going to be over the luxury tax for the 4th straight year. And not the first threshold, not the second threshold, the 3rd threshold over $304 million. You can't pay everyone. So extend Jesus Luzardo now. Now, I don't know if he's going to accept an extension. If I were him, I would just let it ride, man, because if he has the season I think he's going to have, he is going to get paid by another team in the 2026 offseason going into 2027. But that's enough Phillies talk. I could talk Phillies all day, but I don't want to be too much of a homer for you guys. The third guys in the NL East, I think Dylan Cruz is going to have a breakout year in 2026. At Dylan Cruz's floor, he's a good major league player because he plays great defense. He has a cannon in right field. He can play center, but they have Jacob Young there, and Jacob Young can't hit a lick, but he is one of the best defensive center fielders in the game of baseball. That's why Dylan Cruz is in right. So you have a plus defender in right. He struggled with the bat, but I think he had like a 634 OPS. Dylan Cruz was taken 2nd overall. you expect more out of your second overall pick. Granted, I just I love the tools, I love the mindset, I love the makeup of a player. Dylan Cruz played at LSU in the College World Series. He was the man. It was him and Paul Skeens just going back and forth for who's the better player. And then they got drafted, it was 1-2. So I just think he has that mental makeup to be able to handle struggles in the big leagues and fail and come back. Because the thing about like top prospects, right? They haven't struggled at any level um, up until this point, right? To where when they do struggle, it's probably the first time in their entire life that they've struggled at the game of baseball. But I think he has the mental makeup to take those struggles and improve because once you struggle, right, for the first time, your confidence has to get shot. It's just unfamiliar territory. You've never done it before. But if he can bounce back and have a good season, now he has in his mental, hey, I've struggled at the big league level. I've also overcome that. So in a way, your confidence skyrockets. I think Dylan Cruz has a chance to be an 800, 850 OPS guy. Pair that with the defense. The Nationals are building something special. I don't want it to happen because they're in the NL East, but this reminds me of when the Phillies were really good in that 2007, 2011 era, and the Nationals were terrible, right? But they built, like with Bryce Harper, Steven Strasburg, they signed Jason Worth, and they peaked at the right time. In 2012 to 2017, the NL East was not good. The Mets had that 1 year where they went to the World Series, cool, whatever. You didn't win, you lost in five. Daniel Murphy error, love that, right? But the Nationals, it's like they peaked when everyone else wasn't that good. Now, obviously, you can't build your team around what other teams are doing, but I think the Nationals have a good chance of when the Phillies get really, really old, the Nationals can start to ascend. Hopefully, that never happens, right? Hopefully, the Phillies are competitive. We are always in the playoffs. I think we will be, but I could see the Nationals having another run similar to 2012, 2017 in, I would say, 28, 29, 30, right? James Wood, CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore. Now, if they trade them, whatever, that's a mistake. I think they need to build with their core, and I think Dylan Cruz can ascend to the player we think he was when he was drafted number 2 overall and help the Washington Nationals go into their next era of winning baseball. Hope it doesn't happen, but that's just kind of why I see Dylan Cruz being my third breakout player for the 2026 season. Number 4. So I live in Florida, right? I moved here went for college and never moved back. Love the Sunshine State. So I'm pretty familiar with Tampa Bay Rays. They're kind of the hometown team, even though I'm about 3-4 hours away because I live in North Florida. So I'm very familiar with Carson Williams, with the hype, kind of what he was. He's the Rays' number 1 prospect. He's a 22-year-old. 22 years old. I'm 25. Makes you wonder, right? What you're doing with your life. I think I'm doing all right, but I'm not doing what Carson Williams is doing. And like I said, stellar defense at short. I think if your floor is a great defender, similar to Dylan Cruz, it makes it easier to be successful at the big league level because you're not really worried about losing your job. Because if you play stellar defense, you're going to be in the lineup. Defense matters. I make a point of Joey Ortiz in Milwaukee. He can't hit at all. Like, it's terrible, but he's one of the best defensive shortstops. So he's going to be batting ninth. If you have a shortstop that's a Gold Glove caliber and he's batting ninth for you, you live with that by what the defense you bring to the table. So I think Carson Williams at his floor is still going to be a big league starter. So I think that's going to take some pressure off him offensively. And the thing about Carson Williams is the strikeout rate is high, but the power is real. If he can kind of hone it in a little bit and see more pitches, get his walk rate up, and then see more pitches in the zone, he's going to mash. He's going to be a cornerstone for the Tampa Bay Rays. They thought it was going to be Wander Franco. He turned out to be a terrible human being. Should never see the light of day again in Major League Baseball. Should be locked up forever. That we're not going to get into a Wander Franco tangent. Terrible guy. But now you got Carson Williams to take that from him, and a good guy who plays great defense. If he can do anything with the bat, which I think he can, and he starts the season hitting well, combine that with his defense, I think the Rays have a perennial all-star on their hands. So that's my number 4. My last guy, Owen Casey, not me, shares the same name, no bias, love the name Owen, but he was just traded from the Cubs in the Edward Cabrera trade. And I love this move for Miami because Edward Cabrera, yes, he has the stuff, but he also has injury concerns. He has back problems. Back problems are tricky for a big league pitcher. Jesus Luzardo had them. Hopefully they don't flare up again. But if you have a bad back and you don't get that taken care of, it could spell disaster. I think this is a great trade for Miami. So just like Carson Williams, he's young. He's only 23 years old, younger than me. And he struggled in the big league level last year, but it was only 26 at bats. I don't think you can judge a prospect even on a full 1 year, and it was only 26 at bats. So I don't take anything that he did in the 2025 season at the big league level. I just wash that away. He had a 937 OPS in 370 minor league at bats. I think that's what you take. I think that's the player he's going to be. And why I really believe in Owen Casey is the walk rate. I think if you have a good eye, it just makes your chances so much better at the big league level. Because obviously, if you have more pitches to hit in the zone, you're going to be more successful. If you can lay off pitchers just throwing crap in the dirt, they're going to have to come in the zone. And he has power. He has real big league power to where I think that's going to translate. And I think him getting traded to Miami was probably the best thing that could happen to his career because if he's in Chicago, right, they're trying to win a World Series. I don't think they're up in that upper echelon yet, but they're competing, right? Chicago's a big market. Cubs fans are great. They never get on their players. They're not like Philly. We can get into a debate about Phillies fans, Cubs fans, whatever. I think Phillies fans are the best fans, whatever. But if he struggles, he's not going to get every day at bats because they need to go win. They need to go win a division. So the pressure is on if he was still playing in Chicago. He can go to Miami, know he's going to play every single day for a full year. He can kind of take a deep breath and just go out and ball. So I think combined with how good of a hitter I think he is, he's a good defender. The atmosphere in Miami to where it's very low pressure, I think he's going to go off. Him and Kyle Stowers can create a 1-2 lefty punch that I think Miami can build on. Now, will they continue to develop their pitching? Will they add more players? Will they ever spend some money? Who knows? I don't want them to because they're in our division. I want them to be as bad as possible. But I think Owen Casey has a real chance to be a star in 2026. So that's going to do it for my top five. I'm going to give two honorable mentions. Vaughn Grisham, probably just because I like the player. Even though he was a Brave, I watched him in the minor leagues. I think he has that talent, but it's like it just hasn't translated to the big league level. He got traded to Los Angeles. Now, I only think if he gets every day at bats, he has a chance to break out. Obviously, right? You play more, you get more chances. LA, similar to Miami. Nope, I get it. It's Los Angeles, but the Angels have no expectations. If he gets an everyday job, I think there's a chance Vaughn Grisham can finally turn into the player we all think he was when he was a top prospect with the Braves. My second guy is Zach McCambie. The Rule 5 draft we picked up from Miami. He has great stuff. I think I posted a video on his TikTok, like his bullpen, fastball, sweeper, slider, cutter. Like, dude's legit, right? But I think he was blocked in Miami because the thing about Miami, they do have good pitchers to where they can't have a spot for everyone. That's why he went unprotected in the Rule 5 draft. Can't protect everybody. And he comes to Philly, which is a tough place to play, but there's not a lot of expectations on him. He's probably going to be the last guy in the bullpen or second to last, to where that stuff with the less pressure, I think he's going to thrive in Philadelphia. And I think that can be one of the most underrated moves of the offseason to where it can make a difference in October. If he gets any playoff outs and he's successful, it's a genius move by Dave Dombrowski because you gave up nothing for him. Picked him up in the Rule 5 draft. Now, if he does struggle and he gets sent down, he really can't get sent down. He has to stay on the big league roster for 90 days or he gets returned to Miami. But I think Zach McCambie is my other honorable mention, and I think he's going to have a breakout year. But that's going to do it for my end on this side of the episode. Like I said, me and Ryan are going to do the same episode, but solo pods. So I think that's coming out tomorrow for him. He'll do his 5. But let me know who you think is going to be a breakout player in 2026. I could be completely wrong. I could be completely right. Obviously, I hope I'm right. But this is the fun thing about baseball, just picking out players that you see that potential and just hoping they turn into the player that they think they are. I think all of these guys have a great chance of doing it. Really hope it's Bryce Destotte and Jesus Luzardo for obvious reasons. Go Phils. But you guys have a good one, and I can't wait to do the next episode.